Alright, so we've got this set up. It happens to be the exact same 22.5 degrees I used on the top of the neck, so we're just going to go ahead with that. And I have to cut the can profile piece, but then I also have to cut the neck piece, so let's get her done. So that's one, and here's the neck. Make sure I don't recut that. Pull that up out of there just a little. Alright, that looks pretty spiffy. Remember the lines we had on there yesterday? We drew the triangles so that we could tell where everything was. So that's why we drew those, so that we can just set that together. And you can see it's got a nice flowing little thing going on there, so that's cool. So how's everybody feeling about their Canjo? We get to do the big official important step, which would be emptying the can. It won't work if it's full. So all cans are just a little bit different. This is a Dr. Pepper can. Dr. Pepper is made by Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola cans are very much easier to open than Pepsi cans. And by Pepsi cans, I mean Mountain Dew. The Coca-Cola, I got a nice, even, clean cut. Look, the same thing. But the Pepsi cans just give me a fit. It's terrible. So if you'll excuse me, I'm going to put my Dr. Pepper in my mason jar glass. Finish that off. Some people would wash this. I'm not one of those. This is a can opener. Maybe you've seen them. We're going to go ahead, and there's a little lip right inside there, and a little lip on the outside. Now this is an aluminum can, so it's not as sturdy and durable as like a steel can would be. So you're going to want to be nice and gentle. I could hear that pop right there. And we're going to go around here nice and easy. And there we go. And we're still going to have to rinse this out, otherwise it'll smell like Mountain Dew and probably mold at some point, and then it'll get sticky, and then your mom's going to kick it out of the house, and that won't be any fun. So we're going to go ahead and wash this, but other than drilling a hole in the bottom, can is ready. So we're going to go ahead and make Canjo out of this. It's going to be made out of mahogany, and it's going to be awesome. So the red from the wood and the red from the can, it's going to be first rate. So we'll keep going on that. So we prepared our can by emptying it and removing the top, and now I'm going to go right ahead and mark my frets on my fretboard. Now I use this old guitar fretboard, and I took this off of a guitar that I bought at a tag sale for $2. So yes, I'm out of guitar and $2. But honestly, I think I got ripped off. So, but anyway, the scale length is right, and the scale length is proper, and the spacing between the frets is all good. But I'm going to use the diatonic scale, which means I won't use all of these, and I've got the ones I will use. So we're trying to figure out whether we're going to fret or not. And we were just talking about the diatonic scale, and you people on YouTube might not know this, but there's been like an hour and a half since the last video because the battery died. So we're going to pick up where we left off. This has 20-something frets on it, 22. And earlier I said I had 10, but I actually have 11 because I have the 6.5. The Canjo is not the first stringed instrument I made. It's actually the second stringed instrument I've made. This is called a pick and stick, a walking dulcimer, a stick dulcimer. You can call it anything you want, but it is not a strum stick because that word is patented. So you can call it anything else, but you can't call it a strum stick. So this is my stick. That's all I call it. This is my stick. I ask the kids, give me my stick. They give me my stick. little deeper tone, but this is way more involved than the Canjo, so that's why we're going with the Canjo. And honestly, this has 3 strings, and I only ever use 2. I don't know how to play guitar. I don't know how to play any instrument. My fingers don't move quite right, so if I don't need it all, why do I have it all? So this is the first one I made, and I learned about the diatonic scale when I made this. And there's lots of videos online on how to make the pick and stick or the music stick, and the videos I liked are they're a guy named Andy Mackey built a whole bunch. He built a whole bunch for kids, and seems like a real great fellow. I don't know a whole lot about him, but he put the videos on YouTube that I found by I think Evan Harrison is the one that posted them, so you can look that up. Just type in Andy Mackey music stick, and this will come up. So he actually gives you the dimensions, but if you want to measure this out, it's like 3-point decimal places. It's it's not 2.2 inches. It's 2.247 inches to make it all sound right. And I'm not that bright, honestly. So that's why I took the fretboard off of another guitar, and I figured out which ones I need. So, not only did I have YouTube, but I had this book. You can find this on Amazon. And John wrote this book. And in John's book, on page 22 and 23, he has this dimensions. And the first fret is 1.27 inches from the nut. But we don't use that one. We go right to the second one. And that's 2.48 inches. This shows you a regular fretboard of a guitar with all the half notes. And then up here above it is the whole notes with the exception of the 6.5. And if you buy his book, he gives you the explanation for the 6.5. And I put the 6.5 on my instrument. So buy John's book or get it from the library or something. He did a good job. So, I have my fretboard, and I referred to John's book, and I have written on mine, that's my first fret, and then my second, and my third, and my fourth. So I need to know where a couple of things are when I do this. I need to know where the nut's going to be. So I take my handy-dandy 99-cent blade, because a blade leaves a smaller mark than a pencil. And when we go at the shop, I'll show you how I do this. So I mark, made it too short. I put a mark where the nut's going to be, and that's going to be the center of the nut. When I come down here where I marked it at 1, and I put another razor mark. So because this doesn't have frets on it, I can stick the knife right into where the fret was and put a mark, and that's about as precise as I can get. And I have my numbers on top, and that's 3 and 4. I try really hard not to let it slide. And that's 5, and that's 6, and that is 6.5, 7. 8 and 9 and 10. So I've got my marks all in there in a razor knife, so they're nice and sharp and easy to see. And I'll take that out, and I actually cut these on the scroll saw. You can buy a blade for your circular saw or your table saw, and it's really inexpensive at $100. And that'll cut those slots because they need to be really, really narrow. 0.023 inches is what I believe they are. They sell a saw, which is like 20-something bucks, and you can cut those, but you got to make sure you're square and blah, blah, blah. Or you can take your scroll saw and you can put the blade in backwards, and you put that there, and then you're cutting towards yourself, but you're only cutting basically the depth of the blade. And so long as your blade is square with the table, it works slick. I can say that because it worked. Actually, all the 3 of them I've done. I've all done 4 of them. I've all done 5 of them. Wait, this is getting out of hand. The 5 of them I've all done that same way, and I have not had a problem with my frets yet. So this one is all marked out. We're going to fret it. Not all of these are going to get full fretted. Some of the others, I'm going to take this same thing, and I'm going to put a small mark, and then I'm going to take my square, and I'm going to mark them on there with Sharpie, because you just have to know where they kind of sort of are, and you can do the same thing, and these instruments will make some very unique sounds if you don't have frets. This is one of my favorites. I don't know if you can hear that. I'm easy to entertain. So without the frets, that sounds even cooler. And it sounds even cooler if you've got a slide, which, you know, a socket or well, if you've got the money, buy a real one. But just good fun. So tomorrow when we go out to the shop, we're going to mark these out. In the meantime, you should probably get on YouTube and type in diatonic scale for your guitar, and you'll understand it. Some people call it a dulcimer scale. That's why it's called a walking dulcimer, a stick dulcimer. The first one, my stick. So, until tomorrow, take it easy, YouTube. Alright, so I mentioned that we are going to be turning the blade around to cut the frets, and that's what we're up to now. So, teeth are still pointed down, but now I have the teeth are pointed towards the machine, not out towards the front, which is where it would normally be. Seems good and snug. Now what that does for me is now I can see, if I can get that off of my cup of tea, I can see the lines. I doubt you'll be able to see that on the video, but all those lines that I cut with a razor, I can see them from this side, and I want to go in the depth of the blade. So let's cut a couple of frets. There you go. All the frets are cut. I'd actually done this top one before. This is that double string one I showed you a little bit. So now I've got all of my frets are cut so that I can install fret wire. And remember, you don't have to have all the frets. Those can be drawn on so long as you've got a nut and you've got a bridge, which is the bottom of the can. That'll all work. So we got a couple more things we're going to do out here, and then we're going to go inside where it's, I don't know, warm.